What is going on, Cardano community? Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful weekend. This is going to be a episode of the Cardano consensus in which I, Fareed from Dap Central, will be joined by Josh from the Late Game Crypto channel. Josh, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. And hey, congratulations, by the way. You're like 2.6 thousand subscribers now, something close to that. I was a couple weeks late, but I told you you'd be there.
No, you definitely did. And I just want to say thank you to you as well. You've been an awesome support system for myself, and getting to meet you at CNFTCon was a pleasure of mine. So I think we're both going to continue to grow. But yeah, I mean, this is just a part of the hustle. And so again, I appreciate that big time. Now, before we jump into today's video, you guys, if it's your first time stopping by this channel, I aim to provide you guys in the Cardano community with the latest news, tutorials, and reviews for the top projects. And Josh is aiming to do the same thing. Now, he focuses a little bit more on NFTs, but we're both Cardano-based content creators. So if you guys appreciate any of the content that either of us are pushing out, then definitely make sure to give us a thumbs up and a subscription on our channels. I'm going to go ahead and leave the link to Josh's channel down in this description. And I believe that we'll actually be sharing this on podcast as well. Now, before we go any further, I do want to just take a quick second, Josh, to give the viewers a heads up as to what they can actually expect as a part of today's Cardano consensus. And before I actually continue on that, I do want to say that this is going to be the actual name or the branding of this show, which will be occurring on a monthly basis moving forward. So this is the Cardano consensus. And what we're going to be talking about today are going to be four key topics or four developments that have occurred within the Cardano ecosystem. And then we're actually going to have an interview by a guest creator. So the first topic we're going to chat a little bit about is going to be whether or not we are in a bear market or a bull market. As you guys may or may not know, the price of ADA as well as Bitcoin has been ticking up over the course of this new month in January. The second topic we're going to chat a little bit about is going to be the MELD Testnet, which was just released on the preview network on Cardano. And then after that, we're going to chat a little bit about some NFT controversy that we've seen spark up over the course of the last month, which includes JPG.store, which is one of the biggest marketplaces right now on Cardano. After that, we're going to do our monthly project spotlight, in which we're going to talk about Danketsu, which is an NFT project, Genius Yield, and then we're going to talk about Poki, JED, and the Cardano spot. Now, as I mentioned, we will have a treat for you guys at the end of this video in which we're going to be interviewing CryptoMoose, who is also a crypto or a blockchain content creator. Having said that, that's going to be it. Josh, you ready for this?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
All right. So the first topic is going to be whether or not we are in a bear market or a bull market. I think I've done enough talking for now. So I just want to kind of turn things over to you to kind of get your perspective. What do you think? Obviously, the price of Cardano has ticked up and we're now at a cool 38 cents. We rebounded from, I think, about 27 cents starting at the beginning of the year. So are we in a bear or are we in a bull?
The thinker in me, I think my definite official opinion on this that I will share publicly, and it's where I stand as my honest opinion. No, where the bear market is not over, and I think that it's important to exercise caution in that sentiment. Like there's still a number of legitimate historical indicators that show that the economy, globally speaking, and in the US, is not at its healthiest place. And that there are indicators that suggest that we're looking at a 6 to 18 month recession from this point on. And we've already arguably already been in a recession up to this point. So there's too much happening globally to think that any financial markets would see any extreme enthusiasm or anything. However, I think that the case that we're looking at a potential bull market moving forward is not completely unfounded. Uh, the amount of stable coins that the crypto market in general has right now is at an all-time high. So there's a lot of money that hasn't left the crypto market necessarily. It's just sitting in stable coins, which could be moved over to other crypto assets, and we could see more enthusiasm jump up pretty quick here. So it's and historically speaking, the times when bull markets have kicked off has been when people are most fearful and when people think that all hope is lost in crypto. So there's some arguments there. I think it weighs far more heavily on things being more skeptical and seeing some more downside. I think we're closer, much closer to the bottom than we are to an all-time high. But I do think that there needs to be some responsible approach to the crypto markets with based on where we're at right now.
I agree with that. Right now is definitely not the time to be going all in my perspective. Now, you guys keep in mind that none of what Josh and I are discussing should be considered as financial advice. I know that that gets thrown around here all the time, but this is literally just our two personal opinions. And
Hmm.
so I do agree with you that I think it is a little bit early. Obviously, we've got a ton of macroeconomic things going on. And I believe that, even when there's a bear market, we temporarily get bear market rallies.
Hmm.
So before we jump in and say, hey, we're back in a full blown market, like you said, we are way closer to the bottom right now than the top. And that goes without showing. I was actually just sharing the ADA price chart there. But what I've been looking at and what I've been watching has been Dan Gambardello from CCV. So I'm sure you probably watch some of his content as well. I'm not a TA
Yeah.
guy, but I
Hmm.
find that, watching other people who understand that space gives me at least a better idea as to what's going on. So what I've been watching personally has been the 50-day moving average with the 200-day moving average. And what we are starting to see, though, is that we are getting close to that golden cross, right? Where we get this line here, this yellow line kind of bumping through and passing over this green line and that kind of flipping over into support where it's now currently at resistance. And so that's what I've been watching. And again, I think it's extremely early, but that's one of like the telltale signs, I think at least, when we kind of start to see the shift from the bear into the bull. So I do think that we're close to the shift,
Hmm.
but we're definitely not in a bear market where we're
Hmm.
seeing, constant higher highs in higher lows, I think is what it also should be.
Hmm.
But again, that's my perspective. I do think that we will inevitably shift sooner or later. Now, whether that happens before the Fed pivots in terms of its rate hikes or after, that has yet to be seen. But I do think that the market is forward looking and there's a lot of speculation going on as to what, Fed Chair Jerome Powell is going to do and how that would affect the market. So I've just been doing my due diligence, like I said, relying on other people that know a little bit more about this space than me. I try to stick to educating, and I'm sure that that's what you're doing too, is sticking to what you know, and then kind of just following the macro market. Now,
Yeah.
one thing that is interesting, and I'll kind of turn it back over to you, is
Hmm.
that we've seen people raise the fact that Bitcoin is programmed, right, to where we have this halving every 4 years.
Hmm.
So this is my first in actual bear market that I've kind of just set through it still. In
Hmm.
previous bear markets, I just kind of left the space. And again, that's when I didn't necessarily know or understand what the future of this space was. And now that I do understand, I understand that this is also an opportunity to actually begin investing and to really be picking a lot of these tokens up in my personal strategy. Again, I'm using a DCA strategy. I don't use leverage. I don't do any of that kind of stuff.
Hmm.
But I do understand that we are closer to the bottom right now, and ADA is still at like I think a drop of 80 to 90% from its
Hmm.
all-time high. So we are
Yep.
definitely in an opportunity where even with this, latest 30-40% pump, still relatively low to the bottom. So I'm still investing, but bringing things back over to the halving cycle, it's interesting for me to see how that's played out so consistently. And so
Hmm.
I'm still continuing to have faith in it. And hopefully we start to see more of a pickup as we get closer to that halving.
Yeah, yeah, no, absolutely. I think this is one of the areas where you and I align pretty well because, like, the short term 6 to 18 months that I referenced before, that I'm not making decisions based on that. I play for the late game. I'm going based off of fundamentals, and I'm looking at holding for 5 to 10 year time frames, and depending on how integrated crypto gets into society, really, uh, there's a chance that I may never actually need to sell, but I can just use. my crypto. So yeah, I'm still accumulating. I'm still looking at my favorite projects and focusing on the fundamentals, and that's what you're supposed to do in this market.
That's exactly correct. And so I'm just going to say one last thing and I'll turn it over to you to kind of put a pin on this topic here. But one thing that you just mentioned that I really like is the fact that you're accumulating, but you're, at least it sounds like to me, like you're trying to keep all of your assets within the ecosystem. And so one thing that we're going to be talking about here, excuse me, momentarily, is the fact that we're going to be getting stablecoin adoption on Cardano. So that's going to finally offer us a way to hedge against some of this bear market activity, right? Where we can finally begin to lock in some of our gains. So I'm excited for that. And we're going to be talking about Jet here in just a moment, but I did want to highlight that there. So in closing of this topic, Josh, any, last thoughts before we talk about the MELD testnet?
Just like everybody, do your own research and proceed with caution. The decisions that you make should not be the same decisions that I make or what Fareed makes. The decisions that you make should be based on what's your risk tolerance and what is your time horizon. And if you're making decisions based on short-term time frames, I would probably think that now is probably not the best time to pull any triggers or anything. But yeah, like we're here for the long game, and that's what we're doing here with this collab, and that's what a lot of us are doing in crypto right now. If you're still here,
Well said. Yeah, I think the people that are here now will be rewarded very handsomely once everything kind of comes back. And this is an awesome time or an opportune time, I would say, to start educating yourselves, right? I think a lot of people are, I don't want to say they're scared to, but it's not easy to do research and to stay up to date. But again,
hmm
it's going to pay off once everything flips back around because you're going to have all the knowledge and the know-how. And especially like you and I know, when the bull market is up, people are not focused on the fundamentals. Right
yeah,
now is the time that we should really be honing in and finding those gems, learning about them, and then keeping up to date with their developments. So that's
hmm
going to be it there for our first topic, you guys. Hopefully, you guys found that to be insightful or helpful. Again, make sure to do your own research, get your own opinions, and get your own insight. Now, the next thing I want to talk about, Josh, is going to be MELD. Now, this is a project that we both, I think, cover, and we have some overlap here. So we're probably going to continue to talk about MELD as the Cardano consensus grows and we get more comfortable here, right? But
hmm
MELD went through in December the 25 days of MELD. That was an awesome experience in which we saw them announcing NFT partnerships, integrations, and collaborations throughout not only Cardano, but other ecosystems as well. Now, on the heels of that, we had the testnet, which did slightly get set back, right? It was supposed to be launching on the 16th, but ended up getting pushed back, I believe, 3 or 4 days and ended up launching on the 19th. Having said that, I got access to it on the 16th, and so did you, given that we're ambassadors. And
hmm
we've both had the opportunity to play around with it. So I want to ask you, what's been your experience like for the MELD testnet, and what are some of the highlights, and what are you looking forward to seeing from the actual MELD team delivering?
I think that the MELD testnet where it's at right now is exactly where it's supposed to be. It's plenty buggy, and it has its faults here and there. And I think what I was pleasantly surprised with that some other people had a different opinion, but the user interface, I like it a lot actually, and not because it's like maybe people are looking for like flashy attractive things, and it'll get there. That's not a difficult thing to do. But what I was pleasantly surprised with was that it's simple. It's easy to navigate. It's the kind of thing that grandma can jump on and interact with. And what one of the things that I really liked that we are supposed to expect to see based on some information we got from the 25 days of meld is that there's going to be integration with things like Google and Discord and platforms that people are already signed up with and familiar with. So the ease of use and the simplicity of it and the just that ability to transition people into it, I think is fantastic, and it's great to see that that's where we're coming out in the testing phase of it.
One thing that I want to say when it comes to this, and I think a lot of people kind of overlook this, at least initially in my viewpoint, and I agree with what you just said, is the fact that this is an MVP or a minimum viable product. And so I think a lot of people had the expectation that this was going to be the fully released application with all the bells and whistles, which I think MELD did a really great job of kind of setting that expectation early on. But again, I just want to highlight that to the community that this is a work in progress. And so MELD continues to deploy updates around the week as the testnet is actually going on. So they're continuing to iterate, they're continuing to build. And like you mentioned, kind of with this Web 2 to Web 3 transition that we will hopefully start to see as we get mass adoption in this space, one of the things that I really enjoyed seeing was the Google authentication method.
Hmm.
Now, when I released my tutorial, a lot of people had mixed reactions, right? Some people were excited about it, and then some people were like, well, I don't want Google having anything to do with my 24-word seed phrase, which I completely understand that. So I just want to kind of squash this here. MELD will be having additional ways to connect your wallet outside of this Google authentication method. This was to show off the integration that they have with Web3Auth.io, which is a partner that they partnered with during the 25 days of MELD. So I just want that to be clear moving forward. This is not going to be the only way to interact with MELD is by using this service, but it was something that I was extremely impressed with. And then on top of that too, just taking a look at the fact that this is going to be one of the first DeFi lending and borrowing protocols using a pooled lending method, right? Instead of a peer-to-peer method, which we are kind of seeing with other platforms already built or launched on the mainnet. So those are the two things that I was excited about. And then in closing for me, the fact that it was just kind of seamless to create the wallet and then receive your test tokens was really cool. So if you guys are not aware, once you actually created your wallet, all of the test tokens that you could have gotten supplier access to were automatically listed within the wallet. So you didn't have to go to a faucet. You didn't have to, do any additional work to get access to those tokens. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually showing the users here my wallet in which I've got my test ADA, my test Charlie 3 tokens, my Kopi, Hosky, MELD, Min, World Mobile, and all these other tokens that were just made available. And when the testnet actually launched, we didn't have this chart section here. Now, obviously it says it's coming soon, but this again just goes to show you guys the fact that they are developing iteratively as they continue to have this testnet roll out. Now, granted, this is still the closed testnet, and we will be seeing this open up to the general public once the first group of 500 has gone through and done their initial round of testing. So what are your thoughts on that, Josh? What do you think the public's thoughts are going to be when they finally also get their hands on this?
I think that for me personally, the amount of tokens that are available on the testnet is an interesting prospect to me because I think it's a great investment to have on the ground floor because all of these different projects are developing things, and with the utility that they bring to their tokens to their platforms, it exponentially increases the utility of the MELD platform because you can use these assets to interact with the protocols. And I think that adds a lot of value to the MELD app because it gives you more access to infinite utility that everybody is building in the ecosystem. But also it adds value to these various projects that are provide more utility to their token because you can interact with them on the MELD app. So I'm really excited with where MELD is looking to start in that space, and I'm really anticipating where these other projects go because there's some of these tokens we haven't really gotten a lot of detail about why these tokens were included in the testnet, and I'm interested to hear more about that.
Yeah, I've definitely been doing my own bit of speculation on that front when it comes to some of the tokens that they've chosen. And some of them, to be fair, were partners of the 25 days of MELD that were announced, right? So
Hmm.
I think those kind of made sense.
Right.
But there's definitely one that sticks out to me and maybe to you too, and that's the test Charlie 3 token.
Hmm.
There wasn't an official announcement during the 25 days of MELD, but as
Hmm.
we know, Charlie 3 is one of the first oracles, at least in my belief, to have launched
Yep.
on Cardano. So
Yep.
MELD will definitely need access to some kind of oracle, and it'll be
Hmm.
interesting to see if they start to use or leverage Charlie 3 as well. Now,
Hmm.
in closing, I'm going to just say one last thing. I'll turn it back over to you, and then we're going to pivot over to our third topic of today's conversation. On my end, I'm excited to see the additional integration of the bank managers, right? Those were mentioned in the email that
Hmm.
was sent out to the 500 testers. So hopefully, as we continue to see this team iterate, we'll see the addition of NFTs and the ability to use the bank managers on the preview testnet. And
Hmm.
then in closing, I know that MELD will also be providing a crypto to fiat platform. And so if you guys are not aware, MELD will not only be providing crypto to crypto loans, they will also be providing crypto to fiat loans on their platform as well. And I believe it's Nahal Kishal who is kind of the head on that front. And so we should hopefully start to see some rollout in terms of action on the testnet for the crypto to fiat portions too, which I'm excited for to see hopefully sometime this year in 2023. So back over to you. Any closing thoughts on MELD?
I think we covered it pretty well. I really like the direction it's headed. There's a lot of potential here. There's a lot of exciting speculation, like we talked about. And I know that the way Meld tends to operate, just as we saw with Giro Wallet, that I'm also an ambassador for. I knew about the uh, potential relationship between Meld and Giro Wallet for months before that one was actually announced. So you never know what Meld has working on and who they're talking with behind the scenes.
Right, right. No, I mean that's what it's all about, getting plugged into the community, doing your research, getting plugged in with projects like yourself on Meld and your wallet to be able to get some of that alpha. So again, guys, if you guys are already following Josh on his channel, make sure to head over there. It's going to be linked down in the description below. He does a great job of covering almost the same kind of content that I do, but again, I think he's got a little bit more expertise when it comes to covering NFT projects. And lately, he's done an awesome job of breaking down the AXO white paper. So if you guys want to find out more about that, head over there, give him a thumbs up and a subscription. That is going to wrap it up there, though, for the MELD portion of this Cardano consensus video. The third topic for today is going to be a little bit of a spicy topic. So, this is going to be surrounding some NFT controversy that we've seen, which includes the top NFT marketplace on Cardano, which is JPG.store. Now, I'm sharing the JPG.store website here with the viewers. And if you guys want to get access to it, all you got to do is head over to jpeg.store. And so from here, you can find out about all the latest and greatest NFT projects on Cardano. You can find out about their trading volume. And if you actually want to sell or purchase NFTs, you can also do that directly from this marketplace. Now, this has been a marketplace that I've been using for over the last year. And I've been more than excited about all the features that they continue to build. But there was a specific person within the community that didn't necessarily feel the same way. And so if you guys did not keep up with Fettuccini, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, he raised some concerns about the JPEG.store team and some of the practices that they've had in the past. And so I'm going to kind of turn this one over to Josh. I think he's kind of got some things that he wants to say, and then I'll kind of add my 2 cents here once we hear from him. So go ahead, Josh.
All right. Yeah, I've had to be very thoughtful about where I'm at with this situation, and my opinion hasn't changed, but I think the approach that I want to encourage the community to have it has changed. And here's the thing. Two things can be true at once. The first thing is that JPEG Store can be a centralized entity. And this has been a narrative that I've actually been pushing on my channel for about a year now. So I'm glad that people are talking about this. I believe that this is the case. I believe that this is true. And I'm glad that it's becoming a little bit more public. This discussion is happening, yeah, talking about that as an issue. But what I'm not glad about is the way that it's happening. I think that the way that it's coming out, it's very hostile. It's very polarizing. It's I'm not a fan of the way that it's coming out, even though I agree with the message behind it. And as I've talked about on my channel before, I was a college debater, and one of the weird experiences of that is that you the whole thing is a gamified competition. You know, whatever happens in that debate room or up on that stage, it it doesn't change anything. Maybe the minds of the people who are sitting in the room that can take a, or more trained, more honest approach to the arguments that are being put forward. But uh, the ability to navigate ideas and produce arguments and stuff, it doesn't change anything itself. So that's one of the weird experiences, is like, what is the point exactly um, of saying anything, of producing arguments and putting out into the public? And I can tell you one thing for sure in my experience is that the public hostility that is being exhibited here in the community, it's almost never productive in a way that actually creates unity. It it's it almost always contributes to the problem of tribalism than it does countering it and creating a community consensus. So here's the other thing that can be true. It can be true that JPEG Store is centralized. It can also be true that JPEG Store is a force for good. They have actively and consistently contributed to environmental efforts. They, I think, are unmatched in the area of competitive features. That they've been very quick to integrate the ability to purchase Cardano NFTs with ETH or with Sol, so it provides inflows into the ecosystem. Uh, they were the first one to produce smart contracts. They're doing a fantastic job of producing a feature loaded quality NFT marketplace, and I don't think anybody has matched up to them. So I think the fact that they regularly capture 98% of the NFT market share is pretty well earned. Um, so yeah, I'm a fan of JPEG Store. I like JPEG Store. I think they're doing good things in the world and in the ecosystem, even though I am like a radical libertarian that is all anti-centralized centralization most of the time. I'm a fan of JPEG Store. So I think it would be more productive to just have an open, honest discussion, because it does seem like Blake is actively ignoring this controversy and just waiting for it to blow over. And I don't blame him, because nothing's going to change with the hostility that is being exhibited. So the thing about crypto is that it was birthed out of a very small ideological movement. Not a lot of people aligned with the libertarian roots that Bitcoin was born out of. And the crypto space in general is moving incredibly quickly, and it's not growing because of people aligning with that ideological first principles of it. It's growing because there's money in the space and there's something to be made. And the people that are motivated to come over, a vast majority of them are doing it because of the money. And even a lot of us, you and me, Fareed, we probably align a lot more with the ideology that is behind crypto, the first principles of it. But it wouldn't be a space that we could expect to eventually sustainably operate in unless there was money to be made. So there's a lot that's centered around that. I think that the solution to what is trying to be accomplished by Fettuccine here is that we need to be more interactable. We need to be more community driven and focused, because there's going to be a lot of Web 2 minded people that are coming into Web 3. And that's kind of consistent with the nature of the space, with the nature of free market. It's going to be a bunch of people that believe different things, that are building different things, and the free market allows for that and supports that and enforces that. So I think discussion is the key there. I think that's the real solution.
I see exactly why you're a debater, Josh. Very well put. I want to just raise a few points of my own, and just kind of maybe get your thoughts on those. So I agree with the majority of everything that you did say there. I think there's definitely needs to be conversation around how we go about dealing with internal conflict, right? So I think the way that this was done via Twitter may not necessarily have been the best platform to do it on.
Mhm.
If, and I'm sure everybody watching this knows, if you get on Twitter, you hear everything from everybody,
Mhm.
right? There's just so many voices on Twitter, it can really be hard sometimes, especially as creators, to try to put out a meaningful message and have that be received because you're talking to so many different people. And so I think the way that Fettuccini went about it maybe could have been done a little bit better instead of just trying to, air out all that kind of information directly on Twitter, where you've kind of got people with polar opposite ideas with different agendas. That was my first thing there. So I think we need to talk about how can we bring these issues to the light and do it in a formidable and a respectable way.
Mm-hmm.
Now, on top of that, the community has to be open to hearing these types of things, right? So, like you said, Blake, and again, I want to kind of reiterate this because maybe I wasn't clear earlier. This was not necessarily an attack directly at JPG.store, because I think Fettuccini made that clear. It was like, hey, I still love JPEG, but this one member is kind of doing things, and he's the forefront of JPG.store, so it kind of includes JPG.store there by default, right? It's like you can't talk about Blake without necessarily bringing up JPG.store because he runs, or I believe he's the head or CEO of JPG.store. So I want to make that clear as well, because JPEG as a whole has done a really good job of bringing attention to Cardano. As we talked about, they're owning, above 95% of the market share, which that doesn't happen by luck. Nobody gets to be successful by luck. Tom Brady doesn't win Super Bowls by getting lucky. He wins by putting in the work and by doing things every day to make him better. So I think JPG.store does deserve credit, as you mentioned. They give back to the community. They have a really great mission in terms of keeping things green and using Cardano in the first place. But I just wanted to highlight that there. Now, having said that, Blake did get a lot of lashback from the community, right? And he ended up posting I think he was aiming to have 4 different days. But after he posted the first 2 days, he just ended up like lump summing the last 2 days together and was just like, I'm just over it at this point, right? So again, we don't want people that are raising issues to feel like because of the community's feedback that they shouldn't raise issues, right? But we need a way to do it in a way that doesn't allow for everybody to just kind of then dump their own opinion and kind of muddy the water. So that's my 2 cents, and that's my take on it there. Obviously I'm not an expert debater. I think that what you said was very well said, was very well put. But it will be interesting to see, how does JPG.store respond? Will they respond? And, if they don't, what does the community do? Now, granted, Fettuccini's only one single voice, and he did mention other people that were also involved in this. Now, I didn't see anybody else necessarily speak up or come in and chime in. But if this is something that's been going on, that may very well happen. Now, if it doesn't and it blows over, great. But I'm hoping that at the end of this, what we all get is at least something that helps us to push this narrative forward. Are we going to find out a better way to bring these issues up next time? Is JPG.store going to iterate? But in closing of my last point, let me just share this last tweet here. This was what Fettuccini posted at the very end of this. And again, I think we should focus on the positive here, right? So he left a tweet saying most of this could be solved by creating a standard cross-marketplace listing smart contract committed to by all marketplaces in order to allow for proper competition. So what does this mean for the everyday person? Well, if you guys aren't aware, if you're using JPG.store, at least right now with how smart contracts work on Cardano, you're only able to list an NFT on one single marketplace. And once you do list it in a smart contract, it's locked up, that NFT asset. So on Cardano, you're not able to list a NFT on more than one marketplace. Now, if you look at Ethereum and some of these other layer 2 platforms building on Ethereum or just EVM compatible platforms, they already have the tech to where they can allow for a listing to occur on more than one NFT marketplace. So what does this mean for the marketplaces? Well, it means, in short, that those marketplaces have to do the work, right, in order to be competitive enough to make sure that they're not only relying on locked assets due to the listing itself in order to succeed. On Cardano right now, that's not the case. And I think that was the biggest thing that Fettuccini was trying to raise, is that the way that we move forward from all of this is we allow competitors, and we do that by allowing for these cross-market listing smart contracts to come onto Cardano. So my thing is if we can start to focus on that, like we've already had everybody raise the issue, I understand that, but now let's focus on the solution. let's focus on moving this thing forward to where we can introduce some healthy competition for JPEG.store by allowing multiple listings or multiple marketplace listings with NFTs that we want to sell. And again, this helps not only the competition, but it also helps the seller, right? Because now, instead of them having to sell or to list their NFT on one marketplace and it gets locked up, now it can be locked or not locked up, but now it can be listed on multiple marketplaces, and it helps them get more eyes in a potential sale on their NFT, because not everybody uses JPEG.store. Not everybody prefers to use JPEG.store, right? So it helps the seller, it helps with competition and growth in the space, and it also gives more opportunities to other NFT marketplaces to actually come in and show what they've been building. And if it's not necessarily relying on them getting the listing, they could draw more eyes to their marketplace given whatever else they're bringing to the table. So that's my 2 cents there. Again, wanted to end on a positive note, and just highlight the fact that, yes, it's great that we had this issue raised, but let's move past the issue itself and let's start to talk about the solution. So what's your take on that, Josh?
I respect this approach immensely, because I just about every concern that Fettuccine raised, like I acknowledge it as truth, the factual information that he shared, and I share a lot of the concerns that he shares, and I even have some additional concerns that he didn't. And JPEG Store is not going anywhere. They're too deeply rooted now, and they're gonna be around. But with that in mind, for those that weren't here in the come up of Cardano NFTs, the way that JPEG Store came up and went from 0 to 60 real quick was that they were the first marketplace that produced smart contracts, and then the most popular marketplace before they they're now on the back burner, and JPEG Store is up there. So I think that that feature of being able to list your NFTs on multiple marketplaces at once, that could be the smart contract integration of this next generation of Cardano NFTs. It's a very strictly like free market approach that really does like kind of force competition, which I love, I respect, and I think that it's great. Um, yeah, I'd like to see healthy discussion on top of that, but I absolutely agree that this needs to be a thing that is seen on Cardano, and I think that that evolution is going to be huge for the economic health of the Cardano NFT ecosystem.
Well said. And I think that's a really good way to kind of put a pin in that conversation. Again, hopefully we start to see more growth, more development, and the adoption of these multiple listing smart contracts for marketplaces coming online. So thank you for the insight there. And again, thank you for the structured conversation there. I think you raised some really good points and some topics there. Now we have another NFT controversy. Now this is for a newer project that some viewers may or may not have heard of. And this is the Good Droidz NFT collection. So let me share my screen again. And this is going to be an NFT collection that popped up within the ecosystem not too long ago. They've got some pretty interesting art, but their mission is to develop AI generated NFTs, but then they're also going to be offering AI specific services. So if you guys are not in crypto, if you've just been gone for the last 2 months and have missed the entire AI narrative with the launch of ChatGPT, Midjourney, Dolly, all these different platforms, AI is what's hot right now in crypto and just in general, even outside of crypto. We've seen a lot of attention with the likes of Microsoft investing, I think, a few billion, maybe like $10 billion to acquire OpenAI, who's the person developing or behind ChatGPT, right? So this is big money coming into this. So the fact that we're seeing AI specific NFT projects does not surprise me one bit. And I'm sure it doesn't surprise you either, Josh. It's an inevitability, right? We had ICOs, we had the NFT bull run, and now we've got like this AI narrative that's playing out, right? Where we're just seeing Singularity Net Token, which is an AI based token or an AI based platform, just skyrocket, going from, pennies to quarters. And I'm talking, 4 to 5 X's almost in the matter of a week or two, right? But that aside, that's the background. We've got this project called Good Droidz, which is an exclusive 3D generative project that serves as your portal to Web3. Now, it states here on top of that that they're a fully customizable Discord experience tailored to help noobs and pros alike explore the cryptocurrency landscape. So, this project came on not too long ago, and you and I both had the pleasure of being guests on the Blake CNFT show. And on my experience, or in my guest appearance, he raised the fact that Good Droidz was going to be offering a utility that kind of raised some controversy on his chat. Now, the name of the actual utility is called alpha mirroring, or at least that's what we referred to on the podcast when I was on there with Blake. Now, if you guys don't know what that means, it basically means that what they're going to be doing is getting access to specific Discord groups that are in the business of sharing news ahead of times or insider news within their specific Discords. And the Good Droidz team is going to get access to that and then kind of share that with their own community, right? So, as you guys can imagine, this is extremely controversial given the fact that they're going to be kind of leveraging other people's information and then sending that back over to their alpha group. And again, they don't see any issues with that. Obviously, they've marketed it out to the community already. But I didn't necessarily agree with how they were going about that. And I just want to give my 2 cents here. And I'll take your take here in just a second, Josh. But as a content creator, I mean, it's extremely hard to create content. That's one thing. To then have somebody leverage your hard work and bring that over to their community, if you agree to that, that's another thing. So I'm not sure if this Good Droidz team is getting permission to do this from other projects, but if not, I think that needs to be the first point of discussion. Do the people that you're doing this to understand what's going on? And then number two, this was a controversial topic as well, is are the Good Droidz team going to be benefiting or getting a return from this information that they're scraping from other projects? So it's one thing if you get permission and you're sharing that and you're not profiting off of that. But if you're then scraping it, getting permission, and then going and making your own profit on that, should the original content creator also be getting some of that revenue because you basically took some of their hard work, right? So it's kind of like a royalty in that perspective, if that makes sense. So again, I had a contrasting viewpoint with the Good Droidz team, and they did a good job of, I think, defending themselves during that chat. Now, granted, I couldn't respond in real time, but that was my take. So what are your thoughts on that with the whole alpha mirroring process?
I have two perspectives on this that might appear to be conflicting, but I promise they're not. Um, so this is kind of a feature of a like free market decentralized world. This happens in the real world in stuff like sports betting. People will sell their predictions based on their experience, and people will buy access to those predictions, and then they will copy those predictions and sell them to other people. This happens all the time, and there's not really anything that can be done about that. It's not really unless you can make it somehow proprietary information. That exists, and that's a natural impact of what's going to happen in this space. If the blockchain doesn't prevent it, if the blockchain allows it, then it is permissible. That being said, from a like decentralized free market approach, that doesn't also mean that we can't disagree with it, because the utility that is being provided is derivative. It's and I respect incredibly what Jason from the block is hot. He provides incredible value doing this, providing people with information, and he freaking moved to Portugal so that he could do this project. That is a level of value that it cannot be replicated. What they provide is always going to be derivative, and the other features that is offered to holders of his NFT collection, there's more to it than that. You can't mirror interacting with the community. You can't mirror the ability to ask questions to experts. You can't get the same network and connections that you can get from what is created there. So I think that there's additional value that is provided, by going directly to the source. And that's I think the difficulty of being consistent with a decentralized Web3 world. Is this illegal? Is this something that we should try to stop? Uh, if we can, maybe we can try to. But the reality is that it is a free market, and this is something that can be done, and it fits within the space, But also from that perspective, people that are Web3 and align with the concept of decentralization, they don't think that theft is bad. But if the blockchain enables that to happen, nobody should have the power to reverse those theft transactions that are taken. So, um, if anything, I think that people that are producing value that is being mirrored on platforms like this should take it as a compliment, because it means that they are providing legitimate value. I think a lot of the times they're probably able to provide more direct, authentic value than what they can ever take from them. And yeah, that's the nature of the space. I'd take it as a compliment, because I think what projects like what Jason is doing is wildly, wildly valuable. People that are committed to that, and I think that should be supported. I'm not going anywhere near good droids, because the uh, the reality is that, like, the value that I would want from something like that is not provided by them. So,
Yeah, I personally would look for more organic value again if they
hmm
want to produce their own value. I don't think anybody would have any issues with that, but it also raises the question, what if somebody does that to them? How would they feel? How would they take it? So that's
hmm
another interesting perspective. Now, I don't want to go too long on here.
yeah,
We do have the project spotlight, so I think we're going to put a pin in that conversation. Thank you for your insight there, Josh.
yeah.
Now, in moving things along, we are at about 45 minutes, so we're going to try to kind of cram these three project spotlights in here. I want to talk about a project that you kind of put me on, and I've actually joined their Discord lately to kind of get an idea as to what they're all about. And that is going to be the Danketsu project. Now, for those of you who are out there, they were previously known as Ada Ninjas. And what we now have is the Genius X Launchpad hosting their second ever public token sale in collaboration with the Danketsu project. So, Josh, what are your thoughts on this? I know they've got, I think it's about a one or so percent of the total, maybe I'll have to double check the total supply that's actually going out. But what are your thoughts about this public sale? What it means for the project, and the fact that they're doing it with one of the premier launch pads that's been tested and tried with their first token sale, which took place for the Genius Yield project. So, yeah, what are your thoughts?
I think this is just a natural progression of where Denketsu is doing. I've been with them since the very beginning. I love this project, and they're getting out there and interacting with more crypto projects. Being associated with Genius is a testament to the value that Denketsu brings to the table, and they're establishing other partnerships too, like with Project Noom. Um, yeah, I've been very ranty on this episode, so I'm gonna keep it at that. Denketsu is doing amazing things, and it's natural to me. I think that they're establishing good partnerships like this.
Yeah, that was one of the things I noticed with in their Discord after I joined was how organized they were. I tried to uh, spam my video covering their sale, and I couldn't even do that. Like links were not allowed, and they had to, give me permission to do all these different things. But shout out to them; they are a team building, and I just want to highlight one thing that you raised to my attention was the fact that they're not just building a traditional PFP collection. Yes, they have NFTs and you can use them as your PFPs, but they've also got manga series, which I think you mentioned are kind of guided by community decisions.
hmm
They're producing music, they're on Spotify and Apple Music, I believe.
hmm
And they've also got a game
Yep.
or multiple games, right, where you can kind of go on missions and use your NFTs to interact with their platform. So this is, I think, a team kind of doing some trailblazing here in the space in the sense that they're an all around package, not just NFTs, but they're doing manga series, books, music, and games. So hopefully we start to see more projects start to kind of reach out of the realm of just the traditional PFP, which again, nothing wrong with that. That's great. I think it's a good starting base, but starting to look at providing additional utility and additional use cases for the actual NFT collections themselves. So that's what I want to say there. Any kind of closing thoughts before we move on to the next project spotlight?
No, no, I say a lot of stuff about them on my channel, so if anybody wants to check that out, like they can go take a peek there. But let's keep going.
All right, cool. I do want to just quickly say if you guys do want to get a part of the action, right? Then head over. I have a fully dedicated video which I just released highlighting all the details of the actual public sale. But you can head over to Genius X or join their Discord in order to find out how you can actually get access to the Ninjas token. And then you can also find out all about the actual utility of the Ninjas token. Having said that, that's going to wrap it up there for our first project spotlight. The second is going to be the Poki platform. I think I got it right. Is it
Yeah,
Poki?
okay, that's it.
Perfect. Finally. I've been trying really hard. But this particular project is one that came, I think, on both of our radars, and we discussed it briefly as a part of the last Cardano consensus episode that we had. And since then, I think you and I both are now owners of the Poke Pro Lifetime Pass. So I want to get your thoughts. What is your feeling about this project? How have you enjoyed the Lifetime Pass so far? And what are you looking forward to? Because they just started the adoption or the tracking of fungible tokens. So this is an NFT portfolio platform that started off tracking NFTs, but now they've added additional upgrades to also track fungible tokens. So again, what are your thoughts on this and what's been your experience like?
Yeah, well, so thank you for turning me on to this project because it was not at all on my radar until you mentioned something about it. And I took a look and I think, like I had said, I think in the last episode, that there are lots of projects that have talked about trying to do this thing, trying to track NFT values and provide that sort of service, but like nobody's been great at doing it. And what when I picked up this pass and got into their platform, before I tracked all of my assets just on a spreadsheet and the values and stuff I had to like continue updating. It was a pain in the butt. But after utilizing the platform with the premium features that are enabled by the pass, I didn't even know what the accumulated value of my total portfolio was until I won't say what the number is, but I was pleasantly surprised to see what I saw. And currently, I don't know if there's any intent to like advance on this, but it's only measured based on the floor prices of NFTs, which as many of us in the NFT community know, that is kind of an imperfect metric to evaluate the value of your assets. But but like just based on that alone, it provides insight that people that are closely paying attention to their portfolio all day, every day, constantly updating things. It's an incredible tool that can help the most experienced people get some insight on what's happening in all of their wallets.
I completely agree. I was in the same exact position trying to manually track all of my NFTs in the past. And boy, oh boy, when I tell you that that's a lot of work. So I'm glad that you can relate to that in that sense as well. Now, what's interesting for me is, like you said, the different features that they're going to be using to track the price of these NFTs. So right now they're using the floor price, as you mentioned, which I do agree. It's a little bit finicky. You
Hmm.
can have a collection worth a ton of ADA and just a single low ball listing can throw off your entire portfolio. Now, the cool thing is that Lex, who's the main developer that I've been in contact with, has been extremely responsive to feedback in their Discord. So I actually raised the fact that it probably would be a good option too, in addition to the floor price, to have a historical chart based on the average price when it comes to the actual sale of that NFT, right? Because the average takes into account everybody's purchase history. And
Hmm.
also, that's looking at data in the past. So it's historical data.
Yep.
Whereas the floor price, you could have a low listing, but if it hasn't sold, it's throwing off your portfolio and it's not an actually confirmed sale.
Hmm.
So those are the two things that I raised. And again, the fact that Lex is now thinking about that, right? I'm not sure if they're going to implement that. If they do, great. But the fact that he's even receptive to hearing that really showed me that this team is doing a great job. Now, they're also delivering and they're continuing to update. And for you guys who aren't aware, they do also have a mobile version of their app. So that's one of the things that I actually check out when I'm having my morning coffee. I go and check out my NFT portfolio, and I don't have to be at my computer desk anymore to get access to what my NFT portfolio is worth. And on top of that, like I mentioned, they're not going to be supporting fungible token tracking. So if you purchase MELD, you purchase the Genius Yield token, you purchase the Ninjas token, any of these tokens that are now floating around in the Cardano ecosystem, you can now get daily tracking activity for that. And so these guys continue to deliver. I'm excited for what they're doing. And if you guys are interested, you can pick up the Poki Lifetime Pass, which will get you access to additional features, right? And it'll also allow you to add multiple wallets to your main wallet. So you can now track more than one wallet at a time and see your growing portfolios across your different wallets or the different wallets that hold your assets on the Cardano network. Having said that, Josh, I think that's going to bring it to a close here unless you got anything else that you want to add about Poki. And then what we're going to do is quickly talk a little bit about JED, the Cardano spot, and then we're going to bring on today's guest creator, which again is going to be CryptoMoose. So you guys make sure to hang on here. We're going to be having a pretty cool chat with CryptoMoose here about what he's doing and bringing to the Cardano space.
I think that wraps it up. Let's talk about JED.
All right. So JED, I mean, where do we begin? There's been so much chat about JED, man. I'm going to turn it over to you to kind of talk a little bit about it first. I know you just released a video actually highlighting JED and how it works, right? So do you kind of mind giving us a brief intro and then what's your thoughts as to its impacts when it's going to actually launch on the Cardano ecosystem?
Yeah. So that should be right around the corner. I think maybe within a week of the time that this video is published.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the JED is incredibly well designed. It's phenomenally thought through and researched. I think that the mechanics are very strong and different than what we've seen historically from other previously failed stablecoins in the past. And um, I think that it is still early. I think that like if I'm taking a full like honest assessment of this project, they're creating their own price feeds instead of creating interacting with like decentralized price feeds through decentralized oracles. So there's like a single point of failure type of situation there. Um, I would like to see more details on the specifics of like the way that the Shen the way that reward framework works and stuff. But just fundamentally speaking, the way that it's designed, even though it is early in the space and there's much time to develop and establish other resources and partnerships and stuff, this I think is a huge step for Cardano. It's a huge step for the concept of algorithmic stablecoins. I think that this will be incredible for the Cardano community and the amount of utility that they're trying to design into it, and the fact that they're working so closely with IOHK, IOG to make this thing happen. There's a ton of long-term potential here. I think that short-term, yeah, it might not make as huge of an impact as people think that it's going to, because like we discussed in the beginning, this is still a bear market, and that does mean something for the ecosystem as a whole. But I think that this is incredible value, and I'm excited about this.
I am too. I am too. And we have arguably the most marketed stablecoin, right? Because we also have USDA, which will be led by Emergo. We've got
Mm-hmm.
Mihan, which will be led by the Mihan team.
Mm-hmm.
We've got the Share Lakes fiat-backed stablecoin as well.
Mm-hmm.
But none of them, in my opinion, have had as much buzz as the JED token. So again,
Yeah.
seeing how this rolls out, I know there's a ton of people that are excited about it. I'm
Mm-hmm.
excited about it. Will be interesting. Now, Shahaf Bar-Jeffen has, I think, done a really good job of being transparent about the development of
Mm-hmm.
this token. And like you said, we're, I think, going to be less than a week at the time of the video going live from
Mm-hmm.
this actually coming on the mainnet. So it's going to give us a safe haven hopefully people that have made some profits up on this, latest 30 or 40% run will be able to kind of put those aside and trade into stablecoin pairs. But for mass adoption, this is huge.
Yeah,
We could
for
expect to
sure.
see so many now bigger players that will feel comfortable coming in here because they'll be able to kind of stay away from some of the fluctuations that we might see in the Cardano ecosystem, right? And so again, I'm excited for it. If you guys have not already done so, check out Josh's video in which he talks about how Shen and JED work. He talks about the minting mechanisms and a little bit of the background, highlighting this over collateralized stablecoin coming to Cardano. Again, in the interest of time, we're going to kind of put a pin in this. But again, if you guys are wanting to find out more information, we're going to leave the links down to all this down in the description below. And in my closing point, I just want to say that we're going to see this listed on Bitrue, which is going to be a centralized exchange, right? But we're also going to see this listed as well on the MinSwap DEX and the Wing Riders DEX. So if you guys aren't able to mint it due to regulatory restrictions directly from the JED website, which is jed.xyz, then don't worry, you can still get access to it using a decentralized exchange. And so that's the power of Cardano right there. No, this is all permissionless.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it's all about. And I'm excited again. Hopefully you guys are too. Let us know what you guys think down in the comment section below. Will you be picking up some JED? Will you be picking up some Shen? If so, how do you guys plan on using it? And again, I think this is just a huge step for Cardano as a whole, regardless of whether or not you do plan on using it. All right. Coming up to the last project spotlight, we're going to be talking about the Cardano Spot. If you guys have never heard of the Cardano Spot before, this is going to be a social media platform being built specifically for Cardano. Now, I have a fully dedicated video again highlighting this, but this mimics almost Twitter, right? So that was the first thing that I noticed was how similar this is to Twitter and how you can interact, create posts, get followers, become a follower of somebody else. But the cool thing about this is, again, it's all revolving around Cardano, where they've got specific pages to find out more about projects, where you can find out about their tokenomics, what they do, their white paper, all this stuff to really make all of this Cardano specific content accessible to the community while also fostering a positive community. Again, that's one thing I have to mention here. Crypto Twitter is great, but there's a lot of negativity sometimes. And it's not to say that we can't call people out or raise valid points, but it's about how we go about doing it. So fostering a community that's going to be positive, I think, is going to be huge. But Josh, what are your thoughts about the Cardano Spot? Have you signed up for the beta? Are you interested in what they're bringing? And if so, how do you plan on leveraging this moving forward?
I am interested in this. I have not yet signed up for the beta, but I see a lot of potential here because there's advances of Twitter starting to interact with NFTs and crypto and stuff, but there's Cardano is often ignored a lot of the times. So this, I think, gives us as a community a competitive alternative that will focus on and integrate features of Cardano, and that they might allow NFT integration there. They might allow other protocols that are native to Cardano onto this social media platform. So I think that's really cool. And the Cardano community, it's an incredible way to leverage the strength behind this community. It's unparalleled in the crypto space. I just and that's not an opinion. That's scientific. We last year, and I'm betting this year too. We rated #1 on the brand intimacy report, outpacing even Bitcoin and Ethereum, Polkadot, all other crypto ecosystems, and even a lot of like major brands. So like we have the social power, we have the community and the interconnectivity that we have to make something like this valuable. So I think it's cool. I see potential. I'm watching what's being done there, and I'll probably end up signing up for the beta pretty soon once I find some time in my schedule.
Yeah, no, I would definitely say go ahead and apply. And for those of you who are watching this video, you can get access to the whitelist, at least to join this platform, by heading over to cardanospot.io. And at the top right hand corner of the page, there is the join waitlist button. Once you click on that, you can just provide your email. And if you're selected, they'll do a pretty good job of just reaching out to you and providing you with additional details to sign up for their platform. One thing that you mentioned there, man, the brand intimacy, that was huge last year. I
Yep.
actually forgot about that, but the fact that Cardano's community just continues to grow. And people make fun of us, man. That's the
Hmm.
funny thing. People make fun of the Cardano community. And I'm just like, man, this is not going to end well, because once things actually start to get up and running, we're going to really start to see the power of the community behind all these projects. It's almost like we're laying dormant right now, but we're starting to finally see things coming online. So we have, platforms like the Cardano Spot educating people, which again, as educators ourselves, I think we can both attest to the fact that education is key in this space, right? So they're doing a really good job of keeping that at the forefront. And then we've got things like Hydra, we've got the SDK sidechains, we've got multiple projects starting to actually launch. We've got Liquid, I think, coming online soon, AADA Finance, MELD is on the testnet. Like, we're just at the very beginning of this.
Hmm.
So my thing is if we can have an additional platform that's Cardano centric to keep us growing, I'm all for it. So again, you guys go check out this particular platform. I've got a full in-depth video highlighting all the features of the platform if you guys are interested in watching that. But that's going to bring us to a close for the different topics that we highlighted at the part of the project spotlight. So we talked about Danketsu and their collaboration with Genius Yield and the launchpad for their token public sale, or their public token sale, I should say. We talked about Poki and their adoption of fungible tokens. We talked about the upcoming launch of JED, the Cardano Spot, and their social media platform. So Josh and I are going to take a quick 2-minute break, and we're going to bring on CryptoMoose, and we're going to pick his brain as to what he's doing and the value he's providing for the Cardano ecosystem. All right, guys, as promised, we're going to be moving over into this new segment of the Cardano consensus, in which we plan to highlight up and coming creators within the Cardano and blockchain space. So as a honorary first guest, we've got CryptoMoose, who I've had the pleasure of having a one-on-one with in the past. I will go ahead and leave the link to that, in which he actually kind of picked my brain about my experience in crypto. But today we're going to be doing the opposite. We're going to be picking his brain, getting a little bit of his background and what he's contributing to the space. So again, Josh, welcome, and CryptoMoose, welcome.
All right, what up? The moose is loose.
Dude, the
Uh,
moose is loose. What's going on, bro?
we haven't interacted yet, you and me. I've commented on a couple of videos, but I found you through Fareed, and I have loved your content. It's not exclusively Cardano based, but you do a lot of Cardano based content. You cover a lot of Cardano based projects. You love ADA, and you love what the project is all about, and the ecosystem and stuff. And what I love about your channel is that you, unlike a lot of other creators in the space, you're hilarious. I love the humor that you bring to your content. It's just a nice, loose hangout area, and I enjoy it a lot. It's a lot of fun to watch your content, so I'm excited to have you here.
Yeah, I appreciate it. I know I've seen some of your content, and Fareed, we had like a couple of conversations. I guess when I started the channel, I wanted to have something where people can go to learn a little bit, but just get a real vibe, right? Because a lot of times somebody will try to have exclusive content about a certain project, and for me, it's like we don't know what's going to happen 5 years from now, right? So I think that's kind of the cool aspect in being part of crypto today, especially with Cardano. You got, I mean, maybe we'll talk about it, but we got JED coming out. We're going to have USDA coming out. And I don't know, I'm just excited about the space. And I think there's a lot of room for people just to be honest, have fun. And myself, I'm invested into crypto, right? And I like the transparency. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that.
Can
Yeah,
I
I
can I
I
add
love.
something there?
Go for it.
Yeah.
No.
you I have to agree with Josh. You are funny. I think the way that you're just able to be naturally confident on camera was one of the things that kind of caught me off guard initially. Now, I do want you to give the viewers a little bit of your background, if you don't mind, about what you actually do when it comes to
Ooh.
content creation, right? Because
Okay, we can
there's
talk
a,
about that.
yeah, there's a reason why you're so comfortable on camera. So I'll let you kind of talk a little bit about your prior experience with video and content creation.
That's interesting. I wouldn't say I'm confident on camera. Like I have to work at it. I'm quite introverted. But 5 years ago, I started building online educational courses, and I realized I was terrible on camera. So I guess the way I got into it was since I was a little kid, I started filming. I used to shoot on, Super 8. Like I'm old. I'm almost 30 now. So I remember the first HD video cameras, right? I was doing YouTube videos, like little skits before YouTube was even out. So I kind of have seen that progression, right? But going to the 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 educational side, I teach video production online. I've been doing that for 6-7 years now, and I think that's helped out a lot. And I'm wildly curious about cryptos. I remember when ETH was $80, never bought any because I thought $80 was a lot at the time. But definitely, since I was a little kid living in Canada, I've been obsessed about cameras. I love the idea of creating something that's going to outlive you. I know it sounds, maybe it's like, it's kind of like, it's real. It's real because what you're doing, I get the knowledge about, different projects that are coming out. I just watched your recent video and I get access to it instantly. But what you're doing today will echo 10 years from now, which is really cool, right? The Bitcoin that if you buy and hodl, that is something you can leave to your kids, to your family. And I think that's what crypto is all about.
I love that approach. I really I put a lot of effort into trying to produce evergreen content on my channel because I want to provide value that's going to be relevant for a long time coming. And us being so early in crypto, there's a lot to talk about now. I think it's cool having the experience of being here at the beginning when everything is built, and it's interesting, and it's yeah, I totally agree with what you're saying about creating something that can be easily, openly accessible and will outlive you. I think that's awesome.
And I think we kind of talked about this too when Moose and I had an interview. It's not going anywhere, but like you come back and you look at your content from a year ago, 2 years ago. For me, I kind of cringe sometimes because of how inexperienced I look back and I'm just like, man, I can't believe people were actually telling me this was decent content. But the
Yeah.
community support, I think we can all say, has been super instrumental in us continuing to push forward. And like I said, being able to look back at your prior work and seeing the growth that you've had, again, I think speaks volumes. And so that was one of the first things that I noticed specifically about you, Moose, when I watched your first content. I'm like, I saw your first 2 or 3 videos and I'm like, yeah, this is not this guy's first rodeo. This guy's definitely created content before and he's got a passion for this space. So I do think you've got a really promising future. But I want to just kind of ask you another question. I'll kind of pivot back over to letting Josh speak a little bit. But what are you most excited about crypto, and what do you think is your niche? Where do you kind of see yourself fitting into this entire
Mhm.
content creator space?
Yeah, I've been thinking about that recently. Actually, right now, I'm not. It's not even a plug because it's not out yet. But I am building like a crypto masterclass. It's basically a beginner to pro course. So I have a lot of students on Udemy, a couple other platforms. Um, but to answer that question, really, it's that there isn't a step by step guide really how to get into crypto from the beginning. I What I'm getting at is I think about when I try to not just get people into crypto, but to tell them about it. How do you do that? It's very difficult, right? Just to explain blockchain, you almost need 10 minutes. So I want to make an effective YouTube channel that makes it simple, fun, and easy for people to get started. And I think I can do that visually, right? I'm not good at reading and writing, but I do understand video. I'm very visual in that regard. And I think it's just a cool form of communication, right? And it outlives us, right? Like when we're gone, we're like a digital ghost. I think Elon Musk or somebody said that. But there's a lot of power to it, right? And I've seen the progression of video. Everything changed when we had cell phones, right? And it's wildly cool to me. But I also kind of want to look back and I'm curious to be like, dude, I was right. I was saying this 10 years ago. I think there's part of that where it's like, it'd be cool to, tell your parents, hey, I'm worth $10 million. Like you should have bought Cardano, you know? I'm kind of joking there, but it's cool that, at least I know for sure all three of us, because we're in this space and we're paying attention and curious, we see things that other people cannot see right now, and I think there's something kind of cool about that, and we can share it with people, right?
Yeah.
Getting other people curious about crypto, that's the biggest part. If you're not curious, you're gonna have a hard time learning, right?
Yeah, that's one thing that I can definitely say is, and Josh and I talked about this earlier. After the first bull market, people are peaked. At least my first bear market, I ran away. I
I
skedaddled,
cried. I cried
Yeah.
in my car, dude, for like 10 days.
but after now doing the time and like you said, being curious, I've learned there is so much abundance here. It's mind-boggling. So to be in this early, I think speaks volumes, and we all obviously have that same interest, which is why we're all content creators, which it's not easy. It's a lot of work, but like you said, this will live on forever, and we really get to make an impact in the community. So I'm not shying away from that. I know you're not, and neither is Josh.
Yeah, dude, I forgot my watch and I'm like, I can't even film today. Like, I swear, man, I was gonna cancel. I'm like, dude, I don't have my suit with me right now. Like, this isn't even the real moose. Like, I don't even know what to do.
Nah, you're looking good. You're looking good.
Yeah,
Man, you know what? I think when people speak from passion and care, I feel like I hear exactly what I need to hear. I have no additional questions for you because I think I have heard where you're coming from principally. You have the experience of producing quality content. You already teach people, and like I said, like you have this feel on your channel that you don't get a lot of other places. It's oftentimes very technical and factual, and having that funny element that you bring to the table. Uh, I'm really excited to see where your channel goes. So I guess the last question that I want to ask for the people watching, where can they find you? Where can they follow you?
well, I don't have an OnlyFans yet. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. We're not doing that in crypto, right? But I mean, I show off my hardware wallets. Those are pretty, cool. But yeah, you can go to YouTube, check out CryptoMoose. Um, um, I can't really think of a different place, really. Definitely just on YouTube, like
Mhm.
type in CryptoMoose. I have like one video that's done well, and that's because I did the typical 10,000x Cardano bull run coming. But yeah,
Are
I
are
think
you on Twitter? The Cardano community is alive on Twitter, and I think
I
that
am. It's CryptoMoose on Twitter, but I think I have to change my username, something like that.
yeah, jump on that. And whatever it is, let Fareed know what your new handle is, and we'll send some people your way. Throwing that link in the description.
Yeah, yeah. How about you guys? What are you guys most excited about for 2023? Like, what do you guys think's gonna happen? What are you most excited about? If it's one thing.
I'm gonna go.
We just got done discussing how we're not all that certain that we think that the bull market is back.
Yeah,
We're pretty confident that like people need to be proceeding with caution in these current market conditions, but we're both still extraordinarily excited about just projects that are building, fundamentally backed, and seeing how much development we see this year in Cardano specifically. It's a very alive ecosystem.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm excited for the stable coins, and that's one thing that we just got done talking about. JED, USDA. I'm excited about Hydra, sidechains, all these different scalability upgrades coming to Cardano. Obviously, I think we're all excited to create content around that makes our lives easier. It's hard to make videos and stuff when there's not much going on in the ecosystem. So it's kind of like a win-win, right? The ecosystem grows, and now we have a bigger opportunity to create more content about the things that we like and love, which is Cardano. So that's what I'm excited about, man. The New Year's been great so far, right? We've
yeah, yeah,
seen a huge pump, a lot of adoption, and we're now on the heels of another stable coin. So there's no reason to be down or sad about anything, especially within the Cardano space. Now I understand different cryptos are different, but that's what I'm excited about, man. Just the growth and the liveliness here, and like Josh said, man, definitely get on Twitter. If you're not already active there, I will go ahead and leave the link to his Twitter down in the description below. But Twitter's it's a space of its own. Now, granted, it can be a little messy, but I am excited about all the information that's just kind of flowing out around there.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'm like I'm still like 40% Cardano in terms of my portfolio, and that's not even including my NFTs. So
Hmm.
I think there's a lot of opportunity because we haven't had smart contracts for that long. I mean, I was buying NFTs before they had smart contracts.
Yep.
I had two Boss Cat Rocket Club NFTs coming in, and they didn't send it to me. So I was like, oh man, I missed out on
What?
huge gains. Yeah, yeah, because you had a 24-hour window at the time to send it
Oh,
to the recipient. So
It's
gotcha.
amazing how far
I
we've
gotta
come.
track them down. Still gotta track
Yeah.
them down. So I'm gonna find them. I'm gonna bring a hockey stick and drop the mitts. So.
Yeah, that's actually something I didn't know about you either, man. You play some hockey. So again, man, this guy's
Oh no no
versatile.
no 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 no! That was like a family like event. I used to. I used to. Yeah, I used to. Like in
My
high school, but
Gotcha. My man is a comedian. He's a film producer, hockey player. What isn't he? He's also got his OnlyFans on the way.
Uh-huh.
yeah, yeah. I gotta work on that content, dude. I gotta work on that content because I don't need my mom seeing that. So or hearing about it even. So I don't know, man.
No,
Yeah.
we're
I
we're
mean,
we're just picking.
yeah, yeah,
We're
yeah.
just picking.
Well, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, how I could probably monetize that somehow.
There's a lot of money over there.
I mean,
It's
I mean, if that's gonna help me pick up more Cardano, I mean, I'm gonna have to consider it, guys. So
yeah, by any means necessary.
Literally,
Crypto Moose is gonna get loose.
literally, the moose is
Uh,
loose.
Moose will be loose.
All right,
oh
guys.
man. Well, we've got our work cut out for us as creators. I appreciate what you do. I'm gonna continue watching your content. Thanks for coming on, bro. I appreciate it, and it was great to meet
Yeah,
you.
Yeah,
yeah.
no,
Honestly, it
thank
was
you.
great seeing you guys. I remember your red background. Keep that. I think people notice that at least when they start watching. So like, just keep up with the consistency. It looks good. Yeah,
Yeah, no, thank you again, man. I just want to echo what Josh just said. Thank you for jumping on. Again, what we're trying to do here is just spotlight different content creators. And so if you guys appreciate what CryptoMoose is bringing to the space, if you guys enjoy his type of humor, again, make sure to give him a thumbs up on his channel, subscribe, follow him on Twitter, and I'm going to go ahead and leave the links to all of his socials down below. That said, that is going to bring us to the end of the first official episode of the Cardano consensus, in which I was joined with Josh and CryptoMoose. Hopefully you guys are having a wonderful weekend so far. Again, if you guys appreciate this type of content, generally speaking, make sure to check out my channel, Josh's channel, and CryptoMoose's channel. Having said that, you guys, I appreciate the both of you joining me here today. Hopefully you guys have a wonderful day yourselves, and I will talk to you guys in the next video.